Returning to our top story now, and the focus in today's election campaign on gender issues and paid parental leave. I was joined a short time ago in our Sydney studio by the Minister for the Status of Women, Tanya Plibersek. Minister, thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
The Prime Minister's declined to comment on reports that in Cabinet she opposed introducing paid parental leave. Why would she leave an accusation like that hanging out there?
Well, the first thing to say is I have never heard her express anything other than support for paid parental leave, but Cabinet discussions are always held in confidence. It's absolutely standard to refuse to comment on what's been discussed in Cabinet. That's what's happened in this government, that's what's happened in previous governments.
But why wouldn't she come out and say what you just did, which is, I've always supported paid parental leave, and then you've knocked the issue totally on the head?
Well, she said very clearly that she's very proud to be part of a government that's delivered on paid parental leave, but that she's not going to comment on Cabinet discussions, and that's perfectly proper.
Laurie Oakes aired these allegations first on Channel 9. He wouldn't go to air with a story like that based on rumour from the Coalition, so therefore who on your side leaked it?
I couldn't begin to speculate on who would say such a thing.
Kevin Rudd?
Well, I couldn't, as I say, begin to speculate on who would
supporters.
say such a thing, but I have to reaffirm that the Prime Minister's been an extremely strong supporter of paid parental leave, and the issue of the day with paid parental leave in today's campaign is Tony Abbott's changed policy, where at first he was saying that their paid parental leave scheme would be based on the replacement wage of the primary carer. He's backflipped on that, he's reneged on that. And not only has he reneged, but he's tried to cover up the fact that this is a major policy change in their policy.
I'll come to that in detail in a moment. I just want to ask a couple more questions to do with the first matter that I mentioned. Should this leak lead voters to the conclusion that there are some on your side of politics who aren't that keen to see Julia Gillard succeed?
Oh, I don't think you could draw any conclusions from this allegation. The Prime Minister said very clearly that she's very proud to be part of a government that supports paid parental leave, not only supports it but is delivering it. It's money in the pockets for mums and dads from the 1st of January. It's already legislated, it's fully costed, it's set to be delivered, rather than the half-hearted and changeable policy that the opposition have.
On the Insiders program on the weekend, Simon Crean said that Kevin Rudd could return to the Cabinet if he's willing to play as part of the team. Do you think that right now Kevin Rudd is acting as part of the team?
I think he's campaigning very strongly in his own seat, and we've seen him at his local schools and his local hospitals, and it's a very important thing for any member of Parliament to be campaigning strongly in their own electorates.
Are you confident that he's not undermining Julia Gillard in any way?
Oh, I think he's campaigning strongly in his own seat, and he said again today that he's working very hard for the re-election of a Labor government and the election of Julia Gillard as Prime Minister.
Let's go back to the issue you raised about Tony Abbott's paid parental leave scheme. What is wrong with his policy of trying to encourage mothers rather than fathers to be at home with their babies, given that there are so many benefits of mothers being able to be at home and breastfeeding and so on?
Oh, look, I think it's terrific for mothers to have time with their new babies, and that's why we've introduced a paid parental leave scheme. But we also think it's very important to allow Australian families and encourage Australian families to make those choices for themselves about who is the primary carer of the child and for how long each parent might like to be home with the child. We don't think that that's a decision that governments should make for families. We want to enable families to make those decisions for themselves.
But the vast bulk of people who choose to stay at home are mothers, so aren't you nitpicking around this issue?
Well, I think fathers increasingly want to spend some time bonding with their new babies. I think it's a terrific opportunity to establish a close and loving link in the early weeks of a new child's life, and it can be a great benefit for fathers to gain confidence when they're solely looking after their babies, especially when you're talking about a first child. At the end of the day, however, whether it's the mother that stays home or the father that stays home should be a choice for that family, for their individual circumstances, and families shouldn't be penalised for choosing either the mum or the dad, or both of them taking turns staying home.
Given the economic pressures that families are usually under, isn't it more likely that if a father is actually staying at home with the child, it's because the mother earns more, so therefore under Tony Abbott's policy that family would be advantaged because the father's getting to stay home on the mother's salary?
Well, I don't think you can make that assumption. I think what we're seeing increasingly is that fathers want to spend some time at home with their newborn babies because it's a very important time in that child's life, and it can be a terrific time to establish strong bonds between father and new baby as well. But it's whatever families choose at the end of the day is up to them. What we're saying as a government is that those decisions are best left to families, and there shouldn't be penalties from the government, financial penalties, for families making one choice over the other.
Why do you say there's been a cover-up around this issue?
Well, because both the Prime Minister and Sharman Stone have said on many occasions that the payment would be the replacement wage of the primary carer. They've said that on March, May, June.